Hi, my name is Judah Landsberg, and this is a presentation about creating and managing a literacy program. Um, and this is a presentation for the staff here. I think that this is a very important topic because even though we're all content area teachers, our students will have to uh, do literacy instruction in all classrooms. All right, well, the reason why I chose this topic is because it is a synthesis of all the strategies discussed in all the previous chapters 2 through 12 in the textbook. Um, this is important because these chapters discuss a whole plethora of different strategies to be used to help enhance student learning. However, chapter 13 talks more about from a developing curriculum-wide standpoint, and it talks more about broad concepts that will help us start to plan out and to think about in the great scheme of things for teachers that, like me, who teach math, that don't have very much practice planning out a curriculum that has to do with reading. I think it's a really important way of thinking about it. Okay, so first off, there's two main ideas in this chapter. I'm not going to rehash my paper. I'm just going to talk about the two main ideas. The first one is, and these are principles for in choosing which strategies that you want to incorporate, and then incorporating those strategies into your program. So those are motivating students and emphasizing academic learning time. Motivating students, there's been a lot of research done. There's research in this chapter talked about is by a guy named Marzano. He talks about varying your activities, which is interesting for me. I have pretty set procedures in my classroom. I think that I learned from this that I need to vary my activities more in class. Also, using technology and online resources can help to motivate the students. The second overarching theme to think about when you're planning your activities is emphasizing academic learning time. That's different from time on task. Academic learning time was talked about first by a scholar named Berliner. He talked about working in students' zone of proximal development. It's not exactly the words that he said, but you working not too high of a level for them or not too low of a level for them. But also the key is that while they're working, they're experiencing a high success rate. Now, just looking at how it's going to look like in our math classrooms, I chose three activities that I think are going to be useful and that illustrate motivation and academic learning time. So first, here we have this website, Kahoot, which I often use in class. It's great for motivating students. And if you look on my Kahoot, this is my account, and the first one here is, you can't see it very well, it's rap lyrics and square root functions. So there's some very interesting Kahoot practice games that combine motivational techniques like rap with the content at hand, like square root functions, quadratics, exponentials. The only thing about this is that it's not always exactly planned for your lesson. You can't always make a math problem into a multiple choice, one-step, quick answer problem. So it's not always spending time in the zone of proximal development. It's not always very focused. Let me show you another one that is getting closer to the academic learning time that they're talking about. This is an app. It's called Desmos, okay, and students can download it onto their phone. It's very easy to use. They can use it like a calculator, and they can also type in variables, and they can type in equations directly into this toolbar and see what the equations look like when they type them in. It's very cool to play with. It is both motivational and specific to the academic learning time. Finally, something that is very useful specifically for a literacy program. So what we've talked about, Kahoot can be used for vocabulary lists. It can also be used for short reading passages, in math word problems. And Desmos does not have very much literacy, but here is another online resource, which is text to speech, and it will help students a lot. This one in particular is called Natural Readers, but it will help students in particular that struggle with reading, or that just want to learn how the terms are properly said. So this is just an example if you listen really closely.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Okay, so I mean that was just an example from Charles Dickens, but just showing how you can cut and paste text, or you can type out text from the lesson into here, and you can hear how it's read. And students can use this. They can play with it. Even they can just cut parts of it and to see how to speak out words. I think in general, I don't want to make this too long. This chapter is really important because it gives us broad concepts to think about when we're choosing activities, because as content area teachers, we're not going to have time or the ability to incorporate every single activity that's talked about in the textbook. So this is a good way of bringing you these two concepts, motivating the students and also making sure that you're sticking to the academic task, and also enabling them to increase their success rate. So I think that this chapter is really give us some really important and central ideas to focus on, and I hope that we'll think about this when we are designing our own literacy programs to incorporate into our content area classrooms. Thank you.